I am personally an interventionist. We're also the world police, and in that role, we should maintain a world that has free and functioning democracy. Your foreign policy is what turned me off.
You have found your home. The Democrat Party is the party of reckless war and invading foreign lands.
You know,
do you feel proud of yourself for debating college kids? We can agree you're 30 years old. Do you think that's a little bit silly?
Are you a voter?
Who are you?
Welcome back to Rattlesnake TV, guys. In this video, we're going to be watching Vivek Ramaswamy and Charlie Kirk take on a few college students. Now, one of these clips went very viral, which is the second one that we'll play. So stick around if you haven't seen that or if you want to see my analysis. But the first one we're going to play is actually the one that I found much more interesting. And the reason why is because of the topic that he challenges them on and the way that they knock it out the park. So with that, let's get into it.
Hi, Mr. Ramaswamy. Hi, Mr. Kirk. So my name's Brandon.
Don't push the guy.
Oh boy, there's a lot of folk back there. They don't like you very much. So
We'll find out.
My main disagreement with you guys, at least in my opinion, would be I think you guys are a bit of isolationists. Would you call yourselves isolationists?
I would not. Would you, Charlie?
We're America first, not
So
America only.
could you elaborate on that position?
I was about to.
Okay, sorry.
We're America first, but not America only.
Okay.
And here's what that means. I'm not an interventionist. Okay. I think our foreign policy should reflect whatever best advances America's interests. Now, I'll just summarize this in a punchline because we've got a lot of questions to get to.
Yeah.
Is it in America's interest to provide protection and security guarantees to allies? It often is. But I have one rule of thumb. You got to ask them to pay for it, at least their fair share. I'm against the nanny state domestically, but I got to be consistent. I'm against the nanny state internationally, too. And I'll give you NATO as one example of that, all right? Most of the countries in NATO do not pay for the minimum amount they've already agreed to pay in the Treaty of NATO, 2% of their GDP on military expense for their own national defense. They're not doing it today. Germany is arbitraging the United States of America, and I think that's wrong. And I think that Uncle Sam has become Uncle Sucker no more. And you know what? That's not just for the money. People think I say this for the money. The money matters. We have $34 trillion in national debt. It's going to fall on your generation's shoulder, heavier than that backpack you're wearing by the time you grow up. I appreciate that. So it's already heavy. You're feeling the burden of it. But it's not just for the money. Other nations are more likely to start wars when they don't bear the full cost of those wars. It's a concept that you call moral hazard in economics,
yes,
where you don't bear the full burden of the risks that you take. So it's not just your taxpayer money. It's not even me and Charlie be long gone before most of you, okay? It's your future money and your future national debt. But it's not just that. It's more likely to drag you into a war because some other country doesn't have the incentive to bear the cost if the United States is subsidizing it. That's my answer. So I'm America first. I'm not an isolationist, but I do think that those who we support should pay their fair share, and that's not too much to ask.
Okay, so I would say it's very interesting that you say that because like I am personally an interventionist. I believe in the idea that we are the city on the hill, we're the beacon, we're also the world police, and in that role, we should maintain a world that has free and functioning democracy. Meaning, so for example, you were talking about the Iraq War earlier. The Iraq War, I believe, in my personal opinion, was a justified war, not for the reasons why they claimed it was justified in WMDs, but because of what Saddam Hussein was doing to the Kurdish population in Iraq and gassing them and gassing his own people. And so I believe that it is the responsibility of the American people as the holders of that torch of democracy to deliver that democracy and make sure that
a lot of Republicans might agree with you, Charlie, and I don't.
Quick interruption, guys. If you have not liked this video and if you're enjoying what you see, then don't forget to chuck a like on it and also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Back to it.
And that's
I understand, yeah.
Yeah, Dick Cheney definitely agrees with you. No, but really, I'm just curious. Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, parts of Syria, Ukraine. Yeah. Do you think those are successes?
So I would say it would depend on how you grade a success, but I would say particularly Afghanistan. Afghanistan is the key failing point. Although Iraq is somewhat stable, it's a kind of a moderate case.
It's controlled by Iran.
Yeah, so it's moderate, right? But for Afghanistan, that's the real failure, and that's where I think the Biden administration really failed, and that exit strategy was not operated poorly. We shouldn't have left in the first place. We should have made sure that the government was ready and willing to actually be able to take care of the people.
So let's see if we can agree on something.
Yeah.
If you had to choose, and you don't, but if you had to choose, should the American border matter more than wars abroad?
I would say it should matter as equal. It should equal.
Really?
Yeah.
You think that our border should matter as much as something happening overseas?
I think our our status as a world power, as the superpower of the world, is not just that we have borders here domestically, but we have borders abroad that are, I guess you could say, more ephemeral or whatever. They are still our border with, like, Russia, for example, with NATO. That is still a border that we should be paying attention to and focusing with.
We are. I just believe that Germany needs to be paying more, and so do the rest of the NATO
Yes,
allies.
yes, yes.
So that's where I agree. We
So,
probably
yeah,
want to go to the next question, because we could go all day on
You
this.
know,
You're pulling me
absolutely.
in. We love this
But
topic.
I love you.
We gotta
I
go.
mean, I had hope for you, Vivek. But, like, I'm a Democrat personally, but, like, and I'm sorry, you know, whatever. But I'm Catholic, and, you know, it's whatever. But basically, I just think that you were so good. Your foreign policy is what turned me off, I think.
But I will say,
Yeah.
as someone who is an interventionist, you have found your home. The Democrat Party is the party of reckless war and invading foreign lands.
Hey, you know what?
And turning the back on the American people. So you're right.
Hey,
you've
I
made.
give him
Look, I'll
credit because
take
he's
it.
a lot more honest than
No,
a lot of politicians
I'm not
in
saying it
DC.
sarcastically. I mean,
No, yeah.
you're at home.
Honest. Yeah.
I'll be realistic with you.
Because our party,
I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, our party thinks Iraq was a mistake, Libya was a mistake, Syria was a mistake, Afghanistan was a mistake, and
We're able to have a serious conversation because you're actually honest about it.
Yeah.
A lot of Republicans and Democrats try to pretend otherwise, and I appreciate the
Yeah, I
honesty.
think that's the
Thank
main
you very
problem
much.
with politics: lack of honesty.
Now, I can understand why people would think that the United States have some moral imperative, or duty for that matter, to involve themselves in some sort of hypothetical world conflict, if said conflict has some sort of geopolitical necessity for the United States. For example, if China were to invade Canada and start waging war on the United States border, and if they were setting up military bases there, etc., then you could understand that. These are issues that would be a genuine existential threat to the US and their population. However, the idea that the US has to be the world police and spread democracy around the world is absurd. Westerners tend to look at democracy as if it's some sort of be-all, end-all, and that you can't have a functioning society without democracy. And that's just not true. I mean, democracy is just a political system. It's an idea. There are many countries in the world operating under dictatorship, theocratic dictatorship, all kinds of dictatorships, and they pretty much always have been. And this is one of the reasons why the democracy wars tend to fail. And even if they did want it, even if the will was there, it would be an impossible task. According to statistics by Data Panda, there are at least 23 countries engaged in some sort of conflict around the world. These conflicts range from civil wars to territorial disputes to terrorist insurgencies and drug wars. For example, just a few: Russia, Ukraine, Sudan, Somalia, Democratic Republic of Congo, Syria, Afghanistan, Myanmar, Ethiopia, Yemen, Nigeria, Iraq, Haiti, Mali, and the list goes on. Furthermore, according to World Population Review, approximately 60 countries, and probably more, around the world are currently living under authoritarian dictatorship. Just to name a few: Afghanistan, Algeria, Angola, Azerbaijan, Belarus, Brunei, Burundi, Cambodia, China, Cuba, Egypt, and you see the point. How is it even remotely possible as one nation to be the world police and to bring democracy to all of these nations around the world? Spoiler alert, it's not. Plus, when they do try, it fails, and actually, it often tends to make things worse. And now on to the next part, which is a clip that has gone very viral recently. But the reason I find this so interesting is because this young lady comes out like a bull out the gates, insulting Charlie, calling him out. She has a full head of steam. And Vivek Ramaswamy comes in and just completely disarms her. And then all of a sudden, she's really nervous. Let's check it out.
Do you feel proud of yourself for debating college kids who are unprepared to speak in front of an audience like yourself? Hold on. You're 30 years old. We can agree you're 30 years old, right? Do you think that's a little bit silly?
are you a voter?
I am a voter. I'm a
so
registered voter.
I vote and you vote. So I'm talking to voters of this country that will determine the future of Western civilization. That's what I'm doing here today. Yeah? Wait, hold on. How is it any different than a professor talking to you?
Then a professor talking to you? Who are you?
Well, important enough for you to come up to a microphone.
Actually, when I first saw this ad, I thought it was like an improv comedy thing. It looked so ridiculous that I didn't even think it was real.
Well, no, you could see. Look how popular Trump is on your campus. How does that make you feel? That's not comedy. That is a 5-alarm fire for Kamala Harris, because she's probably going to lose Pennsylvania.
Look.
But no, I just want to be clear. Is there something wrong with talking to voters?
No, there's nothing wrong with talking.
Well, that's
to
what we're
voters.
doing here today. It's an open mic.
I think that you push a dangerous agenda.
Such as?
Your stance on abortion rights, for example.
Here we go. Okay, so
Let me ask a question. What is your name?
Jean.
Gene, and what is your understanding of the current Republican Party's stance on federal intervention in abortion?
Well, I know that they want to bring it back to the states, right?
So it sounds like you do know that the Republican Party's current stance on abortion is they're against a federal ban on abortion.
I do
And we're
understand
talking about
that,
a
yes.
presidential election as the
Yes.
important election that we're talking about here.
I understand that, yes.
Great. So, again, I think this open dialogue is great. I think it's great you're here challenging Charlie, and I think it's great that he's willing to travel campuses across this country to talk to the next generation. We need more conversation. Now, where's the disagreement, though, on content? Because you could criticize style or why you're talking to people
Listen,
or dunk on someone personally, but where do you actually disagree with
I
the
agree
substance?
with the way that you edit content and specifically frame it so that people look bad talking to you. The way that you edit your content.
we post unedited content.
Let me just ask you one thing though, because personal insults can fly in all directions. Where is an area where you have a disagreement with the conservative movement, with Donald Trump, with Charlie Kirk, perhaps with myself? I was a presidential candidate last year. I think we need to talk about that more in the open, and the more we do, the stronger our country is going to be. We got a long line of people, but I want to hear from you one substantive area where you have an authentic disagreement, and I'd be glad to address it. I'm sure Charlie would too.
Just in
Anything.
any political.
Relating to any political topic where you have a disagreement. Let's air it.
Okay. I disagree with some of the laws that are being pushed in Congress that are against the LGBTQ community and the trans community.
Okay, so let's talk about that. I'm going to give you my view, and then I want to hear yours.
Okay.
My view is that if you're a fully grown adult, 18 or above, you're free to live how you want, dress how you want, marry who you want if you want, if you're over the age of 18.
I agree.
But you are not free to indoctrinate children in schools who are not yet of the age of consent. You are not free, just as you're a 17-year-old or a 15-year-old can't get a tattoo on their own, I don't think that you should be able to go or until the age of 18. And so the lines that I draw here is that men are free to claim to be women and swim in swimming pools. You're not free to claim trophies in a women's sports competition. You're not free to enter a women's locker room. You're not free to change a language. And you're not free to actually indoctrinate our children who are under the age of 5 in schools. Do we agree on the fact that adults should be able to live freely while still treating children differently? If so, we're on the same side of this issue.
Listen, I agree with the majority of what you said. However, I don't think that you're understanding the implications of the laws that are trying to be passed.
Look, we got a head start in the conversation. We got a long line behind you. But my only ask is, forget the personal attacks or the stylistic attacks. Focus on substance. The more we debate that, the stronger we're going to be as a country. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
I don't think you're focusing on substance, though. That's the issue.
Hold on. Look, he intentionally tried to provoke substance out of you, and you said, well, I'm worried about some laws Congress should pass. I have to ask, what laws are you talking about? Can you be specific?
I'm sorry, I'm very nervous, but this is what you do. This is what you do. You take people and you put them under the spotlight, and you.
Well, hold on. I didn't ask you to come up here. You voluntarily came to the front of the line. You didn't have to do that.
You're purposely antagonizing people on campus, asking
How?
people to come up by spreading your weird agenda.
How? What agenda is that? I'm confused though.
So, Charlie, I'll say this. We'll end on this and we'll go to the next question. When I was 18, and I'm not going to blame you for this, I also took for granted a lot of the stuff that the media force-fed me, because that's what you know at the age of 18. You say there are some vague laws making their way through Congress that are hostile to trans community.
Know how?
I don't think those
do you
laws
know
actually
about,
exist, but I don't blame you if
Listen
that's
to me.
what the cable media is feeding you. But let's get to the specifics, and then we're able to actually have an open dialogue. And that's one of the things I've learned over the last 20 years.
I think that the issue is we're getting our media from different
country.
sources. Both people are getting media from these skewed sources. The facts that you're presenting are not always correct.
And that's why we're here with no TV screens between us. So people who have policy-based substantive disagreements, we invite those. I think that's how we're going to get our country back. And as it relates to trans, which you brought up, 18 or above, you're free to live how you want. You're not free to force that onto somebody else, or especially kids. And if we agree on that, we make some progress.
Thank you.
So Vivek Ramaswamy doing what he does best there, and it's what we will refer to on this channel as rhetorical Krav Maga. Vivek sees his opponent draw their weapon and come at him with violent intentions, and he is able to twist their arm in a way in which they drop their weapon, and then they all of a sudden become very nervous in his presence. I'm not sure where Vivek learned this type of rhetorical martial arts, but boy, does he do it well.
I'm just gonna go full speed on this. So pay attention and hope you learn something. Good.
So, guys, hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, don't forget to chuck it a like down below and subscribe to the channel. Also, my links will be there if you want to find me on other platforms, and if you want to check out another video right here. Till next time, I'm Jake. This is Rattlesnake TV, keeping you armed and dangerous.